Precipice? When Presepe began to move slowly, Fenric gave her a slightly surprised look. Then she stood directly in front of the crystal ball. Don't touch it recklessly, it might be but Precipice's movement was faster. She reached out and grabbed the black crystal ball that was surrounded by a dark aura, without hesitation. Then she started walking with a determined step. To the opposite wall, where there was nothing but empty bookshelves. Duke Fenric, could you please move that shelf? He didn't quite understand what she was up to, but Fenric didn't ask. Rather, he nodded silently and extended his hand. With a little effort, he pushed the shelf aside. Look here. Fenric approached, looking into the black sphere where the wall was reflected. Clearly, a small door appeared on the wall reflected in the crystal. Fenric furrowed his eyebrows and stared again at the real wall, but there was nothing. It seems the church hasn't figured this out. But he did not ask her, how did you know? Because he knows the answer. Just as she suffered from others, Presepe was a constant victim of Ivan as well. And perhaps, of all the people in Audiobook, there was no one who knew Ivan better than her. Like it or not, she spent a lot of time with him. This realization made Fenric feel suppressed anger, and he silently bit his lips. She knew that Ivan had 2 secret hideouts, one in his own palace, and the other behind that door. If his escape had been planned, he would have taken his things to the palace. But since he was arrested and then suddenly escaped, it is likely that the important information he left behind will be there. To open that door. No one can enter this place except me. Because it can only be opened by my power. Ah. You said before that crystal balls keep track of who used them, right? Yes, this is correct. Does that include his magical energy? Most likely, yes. Then suddenly, she threw it with all her might against the wall. The ball shattered with a sharp sound, and from its scattered fragments a faint light came out. Soon, intricate patterns began to appear on the empty wall. These inscriptions took the form of a door, and a handle appeared on it as if it were magic. I hate this. I can't believe I'm going into this place again. She almost felt sick, but she knew it was worth it. I'll open it. Fenric suddenly stepped forward, grabbed the door handle without hesitation and opened it. It was not necessary for him to precede her like this. Once the door was opened, there was no longer any need for caution. No traps, no hidden magic. The narrow room, devoid of any windows, was exactly as she remembered it from the end of her run with Ivan. Filled with forbidden magical tools, accumulated dust, and heavy, stifling air. But there was something new. A little box you've never seen before. But, how are we going to justify the crystal ball shattering? How was Ivan hiding that door? She didn't quite know how, so she paused for a moment to think. But there was no need to worry. As soon as she and Fenric left the room and closed the door, he completely disappeared as if he had never existed in the first place. Without any trace. As they were leaving the tower, the priest who had spoken to Fenric initially approached them and asked him if they had found anything. Fenric replied that he had found nothing special, but that Ivan's crystal ball had been shattered. Of course, he did not mention that Presepe was the one who threw it with all her might, but rather that it suddenly began to shine and then shattered on its own. If the owner of the ball had been an ordinary person, it would have raised suspicion. But everyone knows who Ivan is, the criminal who killed the archbishop and escaped. So the priest found no reason to be suspicious, but merely said that he would collect the fragments to investigate, and allowed them to leave. Fenric's house in the capital. Precipice. As soon as I got out of the carriage, I heard a lively voice. Hannah. Hannah's face was red as she looked at Presepe and smiled, like a little puppy left alone in the house impatiently waiting for its owner to return. But still. Is it permissible for you to welcome me more than the Duke himself? Despite this thought, Prisippi was glad to see Hannah, so she smiled and stroked her hair. You were okay, weren't you, Hannah? I missed you. Me too. But... oh my God. Your face is half what it used to be. Hannah muttered sadly as she looked at her. You'd better go in and rest. Or, do you want something to eat? I know it's late, but I can prepare a meal for you. Or maybe you'd like to take a shower. I've already prepared the water. Anything you want, Presepe, Hannah. Fenric called out to her in a soft tone, interrupting her excited conversation. Prisippi, we'd better open the box together. For safety's sake. In fact, it was not possible to predict what might be inside this box. Especially with Ivan's madness and mysterious nature. But Precipice had no excuse to open it on her own, so she turned to look at Fenric and agreed to assist. How about opening it in your office? I think that's the most appropriate place. As you wish. She did not intend to hand over what she found to the church immediately. If she is lucky, she may discover where Ivan fled, or how he managed to escape. Then she could share that information with the church at the right time, and then go after him and kill him. Oh. Duke Fenric. Hannah stopped Fenric as he was about to follow Presepe. She lowered her voice, came a little closer to him, and whispered, There's something I wanted to tell you, later. But it's about that strange man. Fenric's expression changed for a moment when he heard the words that strange man. But he stopped and looked at Hannah silently. The office was completely quiet. He was following me. Why hasn't he arrived yet? I looked at the door in confusion, but no sound was heard. Should I open it now? Although Fenric said it was best to open it together for security reasons, Presepe did not expect Ivan to set a trap in it. That arrogant madman never imagined that anyone would find the secret room in the magic tower. Then, the box might contain something embarrassing that I don't want Fenric to see. Fenric originally believes that the reason for her frantic search is her father, and he does not know anything about the true hero or the demon king. What if something came out linking her to that? You will be in trouble. She looked again at the door, and when she was sure there was no movement, she reached for the box and slowly opened it. What is this? What she found inside made her feel embarrassed about her nervousness. A collection of old reports and documents. I thought he would at least be hiding something serious. She furrowed her brow and began reading negligently. Report on monster damage in the Western region. Year 997. The rate of monster appearance increased by 40% over the previous year. The damage is severe. Year 998. The types and numbers of monsters in the Forbidden Forest during the last 3 years, and year 999, their appearance rate decreased by 80% compared to the previous year. I already know all this. She pushed the papers aside and began looking deeper into the box. She finds a list of people who have entered the Forbidden Forest in the past 20 years, including Vanessa. So, he intended to use this information to control me? She muttered, feeling disdainful. A crazy person who doesn't even have anything important, all he has is gossip. But suddenly, her hand stopped. She saw something that caught her attention. An old, worn-out manuscript, and a translated paper with it. The Book of Prophecy?